saw it last night for the first time, and it was, I start with the idea that they can be great. Sometimes somewhere along the line, it goes somewhere else, and this...
Kevin Costner's story is one of triumph, heartbreak, and resilience. For decades, he's been one of Hollywood's most recognizable faces, with films that defined eras and shaped culture. Yet behind the curtain of fame, his personal life has often been a battlefield of love, loss, and painful choices. From his first marriage during his rise to stardom, to bitter divorces, public scandals, and unexpected affairs, every chapter has left a mark. Now, after years of turmoil, Costner has stunned everyone by quietly finding love again, rebuilding a life many thought was broken forever. At the age of 69, Kevin Costner appeared to be a man whose world had crumbled. His long marriage to Christine Baumgartner ended in a divorce that dominated headlines, and the financial toll was staggering. Nearly $150 million lost in settlements, legal fees, and asset divisions. He was also hit with rumors of infidelity, whispers that he had grown too close to someone on his film crew. The press painted a picture of collapse, a man ousted from his Santa Barbara mansion, cut off from friends, and seemingly adrift in both career and love. Yet behind the curtain of scandal, something else was quietly taking shape. Costner, who had seen his life shredded in courtrooms and tabloids, made a decision that shocked those around him. Within months, he had not only moved on, but had restructured his entire life around a new companion. It wasn't a grand Hollywood gesture, but a quiet, deliberate rebuilding, this time not for the cameras or the headlines, but for himself. His journey began decades earlier, long before tabloids tracked his every move. In 1978, Costner married Cindy Silva, a fellow student he met at California State University, Fullerton. For 16 years, Cindy was not only his wife, but also his anchor, supporting him during the years when he was still climbing the Hollywood ladder. Together, they raised 3 children, Annie, Lily, and Joe, while Kevin took on roles in films like Silverado, The Untouchables, and Field of Dreams. Their marriage seemed like a fairy tale on the outside, a rising star with a devoted family, building both a career and a home. Yet as Kevin's fame grew, the cracks began to show. By the early 1990s, he had become one of Hollywood's highest-paid actors, juggling blockbusters and international acclaim. But with the fame came distance, and with the distance came temptation. Court documents later revealed irreconcilable differences, but Costner himself admitted that his career had consumed him. On the set of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, whispers of an affair with a crew member confirmed what Cindy already feared. In 1994, she filed for divorce, ending their marriage with a settlement worth around $80 million, the first of many financial and emotional blows in Costner's romantic history. If his divorce from Cindy marked the end of stability, what followed was a turbulent chapter that reshaped his personal reputation. Just 2 years after his first marriage collapsed, Kevin Costner confirmed he had fathered a child with Bridget Rooney, the niece of the Pittsburgh Steelers owner. Their son, Liam, was born in 1996. At first, the relationship between Costner and Rooney seemed to hint at a new beginning, but it quickly unraveled. Disputes arose over the recognition of the child, and though Costner eventually stepped forward to fulfill his fatherly responsibilities, the relationship with Rooney lasted less than 2 years. For Costner, it was a painful mix of public scandal and private reckoning. He was a megastar whose off-screen choices now threatened to overshadow his career. The press hounded him with stories of secret romances and emotional instability, and his connection with Rooney was seen as proof that Costner's personal life had become a revolving door of fleeting relationships. Yet, in the years to come, this child would form a new branch of his family tree, a reminder that no matter how chaotic his relationships became, he couldn't escape the lasting consequences of love. By the early 2000s, after nearly a decade marked by short-lived relationships and public speculation, Costner sought stability again. He found it in Christine Baumgartner, a handbag designer more than 20 years his junior. Their love story had its beginnings on a golf course during the filming of Tin Cup, where the two first met. Though they initially separated, they reconnected years later and built a relationship grounded in shared values and a desire for family. In 2004, they married in a private ceremony at his Aspen Ranch in Colorado, surrounded by sweeping landscapes and a sense of fresh beginnings. Together, they welcomed 3 children, Caden, Hayes, and Grace. For nearly 2 decades, this union represented Costner's longest stretch of family stability. Photos from the time show him as a hands-on father, attending school events and family activities. But behind the smiles, tensions grew. As his career reignited with projects like Yellowstone and his ambitious film saga Horizon, Costner's long absences weighed heavily on Baumgartner. Between 2018 and 2022, he was often away filming, leaving her to shoulder the emotional burdens at home. What began as a fairy tale marriage soon showed the familiar cracks of distance and neglect, setting the stage for yet another painful unraveling. The breakdown of Kevin Costner's marriage to Christine Baumgartner became one of the most bitter Hollywood divorces of recent years. In April 2023, Baumgartner filed for legal separation, citing irreconcilable differences. Under their prenuptial agreement, she was required to leave the family home within 30 days, but she refused, sparking a legal standoff that quickly turned into a courtroom drama. Costner filed motions to have her removed, and the proceedings revealed intimate details of their fractured marriage. Christine demanded $248,000 a month in child support, claiming the children's standard of living had to be maintained. Costner's legal team countered with $38,000, arguing her demands were excessive. After heated hearings, the court settled on $63,000 per month, alongside a one-time payout of $1.6 million. By February 2024, the divorce was finalized, but not before draining nearly $1 million in legal fees and dividing assets worth more than $145 million. Costner, once again, found his personal life dissected in headlines, with rumors of affairs resurfacing despite his legal team's denials. For the second time in his life, he was left financially wounded and emotionally scarred, yet determined to rebuild from the ruins of heartbreak. For Kevin Costner, stability never came easily, but during his years with Christine Baumgartner, it often seemed as though he had finally achieved it. The Aspen Ranch became their sanctuary, a sprawling 160-acre estate where their children grew up, surrounded by mountains, horses, and a sense of normalcy far from Hollywood's chaos. Between 2010 and 2018, Costner's career slowed slightly, giving him more time to coach his kids' sports games, attend school functions, and reconnect with family life. It was a rare period when the demands of his craft didn't eclipse his role as husband and father. Yet, as Yellowstone launched in 2018 and grew into a cultural phenomenon, the balance shifted again. The series required long shoots in Montana and Utah, pulling him away from California for months at a time. Add to that his personal investment in Horizon, an American saga, and the gap between his work and home life widened. Christine began to feel like a spectator rather than a partner in her husband's life. Friends close to the family noted she often appeared isolated, overshadowed by Kevin's relentless schedule and growing empire. By the time divorce papers were filed, the bond they once shared had been worn down by distance and unspoken resentment. It was proof that even the grandest ranch and most idyllic family portrait couldn't shield a marriage from neglect. The disintegration of Costner's marriage became a spectacle that fascinated the public. What unfolded in court was less about money and more about power, reputation, and control. Christine's refusal to vacate their Santa Barbara estate turned into a public battle of wills, making headlines that portrayed her as defiant and him as desperate to reclaim his space. Inside the courtroom, financial disputes exposed the extravagant lifestyle they had shared. Christine argued for nearly $250,000 monthly, citing private schools, luxury vacations, and the standard of living the children had always known. Kevin's lawyers countered with meticulous breakdowns, arguing that much of her demand extended beyond reasonable child support into personal indulgence. The final ruling of $63,000 a month seemed modest compared to her request, but it still signaled another costly chapter for Kevin. Beyond finances, accusations flew about access to personal materials from film sets, with Kevin claiming Christine attempted to leverage them for advantage. The tension was palpable, each side fighting not only for money, but for narrative control. By February 2024, the marriage was legally over, but the emotional toll was clear. Kevin had once again lived through a divorce that left him drained, scarred, and with his personal life under a microscope. As Kevin's second marriage crumbled in the public eye, whispers began to surface about a new presence in his life. It wasn't a Hollywood actress or a celebrity designer this time. It was someone from within his own creative orbit. A production assistant who had worked with him on Horizon was suddenly a regular fixture not only on set, but in his personal travels. Records from flights and hotel bookings suggested they shared more than just professional schedules, raising eyebrows among those who noticed her constant proximity. By late 2023, the two appeared together at internal screenings and private gatherings, though without official acknowledgement. Unlike his past relationships, this one wasn't flaunted on red carpets or splashed across tabloids. It unfolded quietly, away from the Hollywood spotlight. To those closest to Kevin, it became obvious she wasn't just a colleague. She had assumed a central role in his daily life. Financial authorizations and residential records later revealed she was deeply integrated into his household, handling operations once managed by longtime staff. For Kevin, who had endured years of turmoil, this understated companionship offered something more valuable than fame: consistency. She wasn't a headline. She was a presence, a partner who brought order to his fractured life and helped him create a foundation he could finally rely on. By early 2024, Kevin Costner's life looked remarkably different. Gone were the constant flights to California and the bustling Hollywood engagements. Instead, he chose Colorado as the center of his world, relocating his residence to the quiet town of Basalt. There, surrounded by the Rockies, he began to piece together a new routine focused on stability, peace, and rebuilding. The woman by his side wasn't a temporary figure. She became the gatekeeper of his life, organizing schedules, managing finances, and creating a protective shield around his personal space. This new chapter wasn't about flashy premieres or headline-grabbing romances. It was about a man nearing 70, deciding that love, when stripped of glitz, could finally mean peace. Costner limited his public appearances, refusing invitations outside Colorado, and poured his energy into projects that allowed him to remain close to home. Even Horizon, once his grand passion project, was put on hold indefinitely in 2025, giving him the freedom to prioritize life over career. Those who knew him best described this period as the calmest in decades. He no longer sought validation from studios, tabloids, or the public. Instead, he focused on one thing: living quietly with the person he now called his last choice, the love he hadn't expected, but the one he had finally chosen to build a future with. Kevin Costner's story is not simply one of Hollywood highs and tabloid lows. It's the story of resilience. Through affairs, divorces, and financial losses, he continually found ways to rebuild. Each heartbreak left him scarred, yet each time he emerged determined to hold on to what mattered most: love and family. His journey reveals the complexities of a man torn between ambition and intimacy, fame and privacy, success and sacrifice. From his first marriage to Cindy Silva, where youth and dreams defined their bond, to his second with Christine Baumgartner, where distance fractured their foundation, every chapter pushed him toward a deeper understanding of himself. Along the way, affairs and fleeting romances reminded him of the fragility of relationships lived in the spotlight. Yet now, in Colorado, he has carved out a different ending, one where peace, companionship, and family come before box office numbers or magazine covers. At nearly 70, he has shown that it's never too late to choose differently, never too late to love again. His final act may not be on screen, but in life itself, proof that resilience, patience, and the courage to start over can transform even the most broken heart into one that beats with quiet contentment. One of the most overlooked aspects of Kevin Costner's journey is the way fatherhood fatherhood has shaped every major decision in his life. Beyond the scandals and divorces, his role as a father to 7 children across 3 different relationships has been both a grounding force and a source of conflict. His 3 oldest, Annie, Lily, and Joe, were raised primarily by Cindy Silva, yet Kevin ensured consistent involvement through scheduled visits and shared holidays. Their presence kept him tied to California even during the height of his fame. Liam, his son with Bridget Rooney, required a different arrangement. Costner initially struggled with recognition, but later took responsibility through financial support and eventually welcomed him into professional circles, with Liam appearing in documentary projects. His youngest children with Christine Baumgartner, Caden, Hayes, and Grace, brought him perhaps the deepest sense of domestic fulfillment. From 2010 to 2018, Kevin shifted his filming schedules to prioritize school functions and community events, often described by teachers as an engaged, attentive parent. However, as Yellowstone consumed his time, the imbalance between work and family widened, creating one of the key triggers for Baumgartner's frustration. Today, custody agreements allow him limited but structured visitation, with trips to Colorado designed around creating meaningful moments rather than superficial appearances. What stands out is how he has adapted his professional life to remain connected. Using internal digital platforms managed by his staff, he maintains weekly contact with each child, ensuring updates, learning materials, and shared conversations continue regardless of distance. For Costner, fatherhood is not a supporting role, but the central storyline, shaping how he allocates his time, chooses projects, and ultimately defines success. Love and career may rise and fall, but his children remain the consistent thread holding his life together. Kevin Costner's life has been marked by fame, heartbreak, and reinvention. Yet through every setback, he has shown an ability to rise again. From broken marriages to financial losses, he rebuilt not only his career, but also his personal foundation. Today, he chooses peace, fatherhood, and a love that feels lasting. His journey proves that it's never too late to begin again, even after years of chaos. Stay tuned, subscribe, and join us as we continue uncovering the untold stories behind Hollywood's legends.